With a bidding war expected over top AEW stars and more, this is Wrestling Hub. My name is John and you're watching the Wrestling Report for April 10th. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Wrestling Hub Official and also follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. Following the tragic passing of pro wrestling legend Scott Hall, he would be laid to rest on Friday, where many of his friends and family were present. Scott Hall's son Cody took to Instagram to share details, writing, "We buried my father yesterday, and I guess it was the last step in the process, but it still feels like I'm going through a ton. Being my dad's son wasn't always easy. In fact, it used to feel really hard sometimes. He was hard sometimes, but it feels different now. Not my burden to bear, but my torch to carry going forward. A legacy from a legend. It feels like he's with me now. The whole world feels different now. I feel so different now. Death is part of the circle of life, and my father lives through me. And so many memories live in my head and my heart forever now. All the sayings he had, all the facial expressions, going fishing together, him blasting Shaggy, it wasn't me, every morning to wake us up for school, thinking George Foreman turkey burgers are a delicacy, singing country songs on our drives, the spot on the side of the garage we'd both pee in to see how deep we could go, wearing our matching Hall Good shirts and color-coordinated outfits. Seeing him when he was on, how he could light up and flip a switch and be the best person you could ever meet. He was my best friend. He taught me everything I know, and I'll never ever forget it. I love you, Dad." During WrestleMania weekend, The Undertaker would be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. As the dead man said, "Never say never" at the end of his speech. On After the Bell, Happy Corbin recalled a conversation he had with Taker about character work. That man is an icon. We know that. We've had these conversations. How he carries himself as a star. He demands attention. He's another details guy. He thinks about every little thing he is doing. It's not the match, it's not the moves. He's piecing together like these 10,000 piece puzzles and worrying about every detail. He's like, how long do I want to walk to the ring? How long do I want to stand on the third step before I get in the ring? Those are things that 99% of people don't think about. They don't take the time to appreciate those details. I was talking to him at the Royal Rumble for like 40 minutes about how to poise myself after doing something. Those are little things that separate him from everybody else. For me, it's just picking up on details from every conversation. He's one of the best big guys ever. I gravitated to him. I watched guys like Bam Bam Bigelow and Big Boss Man and Taker and Kane and those guys that were big and athletic. With him choosing to not re-sign with WWE, many are wondering what is next for former NXT champion Johnny Gargano. Talking to Chris Van Vliet about making his way to WWE, Gargano mentioned that William Regal played a huge role in him getting noticed by the company. 2015 to 2016 I think is when I fully got on the radar. That was thanks to a guy named William Regal, obviously. Regal was a great proponent of independent wrestlers and guys like me who were undersized, who wasn't given an opportunity during that time period. It's so crazy to be in that window, where from 2016 to 2021 where I left, I felt I had a hell of a run. I maximized my time there for sure, especially in NXT, the matches and opportunities I was given to be able to go out there and main event takeovers in front of 15,000 seat arenas. Today being able to do that meet and greet and signing stuff, it's very reassuring to have people come up to me and share their stories of how I've affected their life, because it is wild to think that when I was younger, boyhood dream, Shawn Michaels is what made me want to be a wrestler. For some kids out there, me winning the NXT title at TakeOver New York is going to be what made them want to be a wrestler, so it's cool to have that kind of legacy in itself. Not seen on WWE TV since the Royal Rumble pay-per-view, fans are concerned when it comes to Shotzi Blackheart's status in the company. Every year on April 15th, WWE usually releases a list of talent, but according to Ringside News, Shotzi should not be one of them. We've been getting emails every week about Shotzi Blackheart. Okay, this is all we know. She wasn't booked in the Mania build because she wasn't in the mix. Shotzi is in good standing and everyone likes her. There is no heat on Shotzi either. Hopefully that helps. For WrestleMania 38, Cody Rhodes would make his return to WWE after leaving AEW. Talking about the prospect of more AEW stars leaving for WWE, Tony Khan said to ESPN's Mark Raimondi that it's not anything unusual to see stars coming from other promotions, including WWE, into AEW. I think it is now a little different to see a star from AEW go onto WWE television. I think as the years go by, we're a young promotion. It was bound to happen sooner or later, and now it has. We have a lot of great wrestlers here. I expect there probably will be down the road interest in some of them because we're putting on such strong shows. I think there's bound to be free agent movement on both sides of the competition. I think it's great for the wrestlers. Staying on the topic of Cody Rhodes returning to WWE, Eric Bischoff would mention on his Strictly Business podcast on what this means for AEW stars looking to jump ship. We don't know, do we? I certainly don't know. I don't know how many other talents currently in AEW, how many of them are actually looking to the end of their contract and saying, I'm going to see if this works out well for me just like it did for Cody. I know nothing about AEW. I'm a fan of MJF. I heard his contract's up sometime in 2024. That's a bit down the road. I don't know if there's anybody else coming up before that, but it's an opportunity. That's all it is. The one thing I think that's interesting is I'd like to know what the morale is really like. Not when Tony's around, not when everybody else is around, but when these guys are by themselves now that the newness is worn off of AEW. It's 3 years old and has a track record now. They've hit some really great highs for a new company, some amazing things they've done early on. No question, but here's what happens, and here's what I've seen happen around me. You know what happens when you start making more money than when you left your previous employer? You get really used to that. You begin to take that for granted, and it's no longer new anymore, and you're no longer feeling it the way you used to. After a certain amount of time, you get used to it, and talents get used to money real quick. And then it's about performance, emotion, and ego. You've got a lot of talent that's coming to AEW over the last couple of years, some of them making significantly more than they had ever made in the wrestling business on a guaranteed basis. That's cool, and you appreciate that. But once the newness wears off, and you get used to that, what do you want? You want to showcase. You want to perform. That's why you became a professional wrestler in the first place. Athletes don't want to sit on the bench and collect. They want to play. Bischoff would say that Cody Rhodes' return to WWE was a magical moment, but also touched on how this could impact AEW. Now you've got a very crowded roster with some very talented people, which is a credit to Tony Khan and AEW. You can only showcase so many of them. Now that they're used to the money, they're going to be looking for another opportunity, just like Cody Rhodes was looking for when he left WWE the first time. You're going to see a shift in morale. We are not going to hear about it because nobody wants to burn a bridge and see the paychecks go away. The world's in a different place now than it used to be, but internally, I have to imagine there's any number of talents there that are questioning what their future is going to look like in the next 12, 18 to 24 months. During his appearance on After the Bell, JBL gave his take on what makes a good heel in pro wrestling, saying, "Had people tell me they like people saying you're a good heel. If somebody says you're a good heel, you're not a good heel, because a good heel is not somebody you recognize as a heel. A good heel is somebody you go, I hate that guy. Would you pay to see somebody beat him? They go, yeah, I hate that guy." JBL touched on the current state of the business, noting that social media plays a part in killing the character of heels. "I've seen guys do some type of dastardly heel tactic or whatever it is, and then they put on their social media their kids and a Bible scripture. Like, dude, there's nothing wrong with your kids and a Bible scripture. That's wonderful, but not if you want to be a heel. You've got to stay in character. This social media kills a lot of these guys because they just expose the fact what they're doing is a work." JBL would go on to say that he demanded WWE not create any merchandise for him. First time I saw a JBL shirt, I literally called Vince and said, "What are you doing putting out a JBL shirt?" He said, "I had no idea we had one put out." I said, "I don't want some fan wearing one." Vince goes, "I know, take it off." So I never let anybody put out a JBL shirt ever. It was out for a short time and I got it taken off because I don't want some kid in the front row wearing a JBL shirt and somebody thinking, oh, he must not be a terrible bad guy because he's got one fan right there. I used to see a section where people wear the hat and the suit. After a while, the towel and all that stuff. I would get on the microphone and I would just lambast these guys. Sitting down to talk to The Town, WWE President Nick Khan would discuss the company's new recruiting efforts, revealing they are looking closely at traditional athletes as opposed to indie wrestlers. I think it's definitely more difficult. I think if you look at let's say Logan Paul, if YouTube and all the social media platforms did not exist, could he have been the next big WWE superstar? Sure. Figured out a way to go make a ton of money without having to do that. We have made a massive pivot. We came to him. It used to be you get boxers on the downside of their career, Joe Louis and Muhammad Ali coming to wrestling. Now you're getting them on the upside. Floyd Mayweather 15 years ago, Tyson Fury a few years ago. I think athletes see the benefit of our platform, but in terms of creating new full-time stars, we've completely shifted our recruiting efforts. If you're a football player and you're not going to make it to the NFL or the XFL and you're just a step short, a step not big enough, come to us. Let's make it easy for you. If you look at a shot putter in college, what's that man or woman going to do next? Are they going to get an office job? Are they going to go into pharmaceutical sales? Are they going to go work at UPS? Or are they going to come take a look at us? We want to make it easy for all of these athletes, and that's not limited to just Division I or NCAA. With him set to face Cody Rhodes tomorrow night on Raw, The Miz spoke to the Detroit News about his match with Logan Paul at WrestleMania, noting that he has no plans to retire, saying, "Not yet. My goal whenever a celebrity comes in is not to have them just sit on the sidelines and watch me work. What the fans pay to see is Logan Paul going to be able to do this? And I want to be able to give fans that answer, whether it's positive or negative. So I'm going to push whichever celebrity is out there to be their absolute best. And it only works if they have the heart, the dedication, the will, and the athletic ability to do it." In regards to AEW President Tony Khan claiming bots are the reason behind so much hate online for his company, Braun Strowman would take to Twitter to accuse Khan, writing, "This is the same guy that pays the dirt sheets and says his wrestlers are free to do whatever, but blackball them from CYN shows. Why? Because we're a threat. With Control Your Narrative, Strowman, now going by Titan, has a new look." Talking to a fan about this, Braun would note that soon children will be getting that same hairstyle. A fan would say if his kid did that, he'd punish him by making him watch 3 hours of Raw, to which Strowman responded, "Haha, Dynamite would be far worse punishment." And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.